Terence Crawford is suing Top Rank and Bob Arum? I can't make this up here. This is actually now a continuation from yesterday's pod. Let's discuss. Welcome back, Boxing World. I'm that dude named Dave, and I am back here with another episode of the Boxing Now podcast here. I'm not going to long stroke you here. I'm going to do this early house cleaning here to get it out the way here. But you know what you need to do? Click on like, subscribe, click on that bell notification below. Why? I need the YouTube algorithm, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a struggle streamer, so I'm just trying to get this boxing news out to the masses here. So I'm going to take a few seconds. Will you guys do that there? Okay. I hope you guys done it there, and also share it too with your friends. So let's get into today's discussion here. Terence Crawford. Now, I talked about him yesterday here regarding the other days regarding, he's an odd man out regarding Errol Spence here. Let's get into particulars. Terence Crawford is 38-0 with 29 knockouts here. He is the current WBO welterweight champion. He is a 3-division champion starting at 135 and also becoming the first man to be undisputed at 140 pounds. He's been with his longtime promoter, Bob Arum, for his entire career. I was there for the last fight of his contract there, like I stated before, in November at the Mandalay Bay at the Michelob Arena, where he fought Showtime Sean Porter, impressive fashion, and got the knockout win to improve his record to 38-0. So after the fight, during the press conference, I mentioned this in the last pod, how he didn't think that Bob Arum would help him get the Errol Spence fight, because he even said, and I quote, "When I was with him, I couldn't get the fight. So how can I get the fight when I'm not with him?" So we know that, there's been a lot of stuff going back and forth. And one of the things that I have talked about, especially last year when the show first started, was that Terence Crawford has had issues with Bob Arum and Top Rank, and the fact that his visibility, the fact that him being a face, the fact that someone being, an icon or a pop culture, athlete that can be in the lexicon. He is not someone who has crossed over into that barrier here. And so it looks like things has gotten just a little bit worse here. So the thumbnail, not clickbait. The subject, not clickbait. Let's get into it here. The fighter is claiming that the promoter, he's suing him for revolting racial bias and preventing him from landing big fights and earning him tens of millions of dollars, according to court papers in Nevada, and that he has hired top attorney Brian Freeman, and the lawsuit is for up to $10 million. Wow. I can't make this up here, guys. Here's the thing, though. It's a good thing that Terence Crawford is a free agent. Because if he was doing this in a similar fashion that when Mikey Garcia sued Top Rank and Bob Arum several years ago, he would have been on a show for years. So I don't know what his game plans are as far as fighting is concerned, because in the recent pod, I'm going to post that in the up above here, where we say that, no, is he the odd man out? Well, I don't know what he's going to do right now if he's suing Bob Arum, because one thing I noticed, I said in my last pod about the Josh Taylor fight, that is not happening right now. But you know what, though? Instead of me talking on my own accord right now, let's get to the New York Post. I want to show the article, and then we'll comment on that here. So let me pull it up here. There we go here. The good old New York Post here. I'm going to put myself in a little corner here, so let's go down here. Terence Crawford claims Bob Arum revolting racial bias hurt his career. I'm just going to skim through the article here so you guys can actually pull this up here. So here's what we have here. Terence Crawford, 34, famously split with Arum at a November 21 press conference, and he wanted to become a free agent to land his dream fight with Errol Spence Jr., what I just talked about here. So let's get to the details here. Since the lawsuit filed in the 8th Judicial Court in Nevada on Wednesday states, Crawford shines a spotlight of systematic racism that runs through Top Rank. Top Rank's complete inability to properly promote black fighters, and Top Rank, Arum, and his stepson, Todd DeBow, disparate treatment of black fighters, including Crawford. Let me add this here. The suit also mentions other big names of sports, such as Floyd Mayweather Jr., as having been mistreated by Bob Arum, who scoffed at the legal allegations when reached by the Post. Let's scroll down here, and we're going to talk about this here. So we got a quote here from the article here. Let's read it out. Don't call a man a racist when this is real. This is because of your own failures. Arum, who claims he lost 20 million on Crawford, told the Post. His marketability didn't measure up to his ability in that, and that has absolutely nothing to do with race he is. The outstanding fact is that Terrence's numbers on pay-per-view has always been dreadful because of his failure to market himself. Let me add this here as well. In the alleged papers exclusively obtained by the Post, that for years, professional boxers and others in the sports world have called out Top Rank's owner Bob Arum for disparate treatment of black boxers, including those very same black boxers that Top Rank is contractually obligated to promote. Because boxing is a sport with a checkered history, and because Arum is now dismissed, it's just a grumpy old white man. Arum continued to make racist and bigoted statements and purposely damage those reputations of black boxers without consequences here. Oh boy, here. Let me minimize the article here. I'm gonna bring myself up here. This is a lot to digest here, and this I'm not gonna go over everything in this particular pod. One thing I am gonna say here: someone can be right and wrong at the same time. Is Terence Crawford saying anything wrong here? No. What he's saying has been saying by fighters for years, for decades. Let's be honest here. After Bob Arum stopped promoting Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard, when it's come to the black fighter, he does not know how to promote these guys whatsoever. This is a fact. He prefers to promote Latin fighters and Ukrainian fighters that we've seen recently here. So one thing can be true. The other thing, though, is that for Crawford to sue for racial bias, I'm sorry, this is going to be a hard one to sell. To buy from Terence Crawford's side here. I have been very open and adamant during his proceedings with Manny Pacquiao fight about him not landing the big fights and his marketability and his bad business. Now, here's what I want to preface to that. I do not know anybody in this camp. But one thing is for sure that we do know is that a lot of times boxers are boxers and let their managers and the promoters handle everything. And what it seems like with Terence Crawford is that he has bad people behind him. Now, Top Rank and Arum has made him a rich man. He is not broke by any means. He's made good money. He was making in ESPN, he was making anywhere from $2 to $5 million a fight by the time the end of the contract was over. The problem, though, is that these fights did not make any money for Bob Arum. They did not sell on pay-per-view. And I've talked about that many times here. And it makes me wonder the business practices behind the scenes also with Bob Arum that we know. But here's the thing here. Terence Crawford could not land a fight with Manny Pacquiao when they were both under the same banner. How is that even possible? For years, going back from 2015, they were talking about Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao, and the fight never happened. But how is it that when Manny Pacquiao's contract ended with Top Rank and he went to the PBC side, Errol Spence had that fight in a year and a half. Manny Pacquiao had other plans, of course. There was a game plan. And, of course, Errol Spence was not ready to fight Manny Pacquiao at the time. But when it came down to it, Errol Spence got the fight. The only reason why the fight didn't happen, he had a detached retina and had to pull off the fight. And as we know, you guys beat Manny Pacquiao to become now the WBA welterweight champion. So the fact that Terence Crawford was on Top Rank and couldn't get that fight, that's something here. But what he's also suing, talking about that he couldn't get the big marquee fights, that's not on Arum. I'm going to state that here. How is Arum going to try to make a big fight with Errol Spence when he is signed to PBC and he fights his fights on the Fox banner? Used to be Showtime, but you know how PBC, they have both networks that they run their fighters through. So if he could not get Manny Pacquiao, who is under his own stable, up until a Manny Pacquiao left to go to PBC, how is Terence Crawford going to say, you did not give me this fight here? And try to sue for this here. Now, there's a lot of details that we all don't know here. That's one item. Another item, too, that I got to say is that Floyd Mayweather has been open about Bob Arum and his treatment with black fighters and in the way he is promoted. This is open knowledge here. You don't have to take my word for it. All you have to do is do a simple Google search, go on YouTube. These are not just articles. These are voice interviews where that Floyd Mayweather openly talk about Bob Arum. And throughout the years, if you want to watch old fights on HBO, on YouTube here, and you pull up the HBO telecast with Floyd Mayweather fights, before the telecast, I don't know how many fights that they were discussing Floyd's issues with Top Rank. Especially, there was one particular fight in general where they were negotiating an HBO deal, like a 5-year deal, and it was going back and forth. And one of the issues that Floyd wanted his face on the banner, his banner on the MGM Grand. Now, I don't know about you, but if you ever been to a Floyd Mayweather fight in the prime of his career from like 2009 to 2016, and you was in Vegas, you saw his face on the MGM Grand on the whole tower of that building. He won that back in 2002, and Bob Arum didn't want to pay the money for it. Like, Floyd knew what he wanted as far as exposing himself and promoting himself. And Bob Arum has been on the record a couple of years ago. He even admitted saying that I tried to promote Floyd Mayweather like Sugar Ray Leonard, and that was the wrong way. Sugar Ray Leonard came from a different generation. Floyd is from the hip hop generation. I did not know what I was doing at that time. I'm paraphrasing, but Bob Arum said that. So here's the problem that I have here with Terence Crawford. He signed with him back in 2011. So if you're a young fighter, I get it. You know, you go for the best deal, you go for the exposure. They're the legacy promoter, you know, to get your career off the ground. But here's the problem that I have with Terence Crawford. He did not have to sign that extension back in 2017, 2018, maybe 2018. Correct me wrong on the exact contract. I believe it was 2018. He signed an extension with Bob Arum and Top Rank. Now, if there's racial bias and you're complaining about the big fights not being had, why would you re-sign with the same company? You were a free agent. You could have went on a fight-by-fight basis or signed with somebody else. No, you did not do that. You let your team choose the comfortable purses that ESPN was giving to you, and you didn't get any big fights. Who did he fight under the new contract? He fought Amir Khan. Come on, guys, Amir Khan. That's not a big fight. He fought Kell Brook. Kell Brook was past his prime when Errol Spence broke his face and knocked him out in 2017 in his hometown overseas. Then, of course, he finally got Showtime, at the end of the contract. I believe there was another fight involved in there, but then there was, the pandemic that shut everything down. And then, of course, Showtime, Sean Porter with the last fight in that deal. Why would you sign for a promoter who has no welterweights in his stable? I want to ask that question to boxing fans. I love Terence Crawford as a fighter. He's a beast. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like I said, when I saw him in person, I saw a murderer about to do some damage. I was all in on being at the fight there. But when it comes to business, we see this far too many times. We see too many times that we see a fighter who does not understand the business, or he has the wrong team behind him. And now he is suing here. The good thing here is that he's not on the shelf. But what is he going to do? I want to go back here for 1 second here. He re-signed with Top Rank in 2018, right? All the welterweights with the PBC. You keep saying that everybody on the other side don't want to fight you, but why would you sign with a promoter that you know that it's going to be hard to make fights within your own stable? And then the one fight that could have got you your career payday, that could have made you into the crossover star, Manny Pacquiao, couldn't even get that fight. And then he went to the PBC, and your chief rival almost had that fight if he didn't get hurt. But you know what, though? Chief Thurman got that fight. Adrian Broner got that fight. How does Terence Crawford don't get that fight? Errol Spence almost had the fight if he didn't get hurt. So there has to be a level of accountability on Terence Crawford's side here. But the big question with this lawsuit is it's not going to affect his career, but what does he do going forward? Where does he fight? Because I stated in a previous pod, he's not going to the zone with Golden Boy and Matchroom because, like I said, they don't have anybody at welterweight at 147, 154. That's just not there. Okay. Then Top Rank, ESPN, he's suing them. So we know that that's a bridge being burned right now. That's not happening. So only thing that is left is PBC, Showtime, and Fox, unless he's going to be a free agent, which he is. But they have the stable. Leonard Ellerbe, Floyd Mayweather, Al Heyman and the crew over there, Steven Espinoza. They have all the top welterweights. They have the big stable at 154. Terence Crawford's already in his third division right now. 154 might be his max here. His best business availability is with the PBC here, but he's going back and forth here. And the reason why I question his business motives, because on Twitter, he's even come out publicly saying that he doesn't want anybody to buy the Arum Spence and your Granted You guys fight. So why are you boycotting a fight that if it loses money, then the fact that if Spence wins and you want that fight, there's not going to be more money in the pot. If people boycott it, people are already going to illegally bootleg and stream it on that end. And if it makes less money, but you want more money in the past, how's it going to make more in the future? And then he has a third belt. The only way you make more money is if you guys wins in the upsets. And you eventually, if you do fight him. There's so many ifs here. I'm going to close out here. We need to have a bigger discussion on Terence Crawford and what's going on here with his future Hall of Famer. He is a hell of a fighter. I would not want to meet that man in a dark alley. I don't want to meet that man at 12 noon. I see him in person. I'm going to say, champ, you are one of the best. But you know, though, no one is absolved from criticism. And if we see something that looks sketchy, which I talked about years ago, even up to last year on the podcast, on camera, and we're seeing the same problems now, we have to put accountability here. So I want to know what you guys think here. Am I off base here on my assessment of Terence Crawford? What do you think about him suing Top Rank? And what about his future? There's a lot here. But until next time for the Box Now podcast, I'm that dude named Dave.